Hey, so have you ever thought about how much Social Security affects your future? It's one of those topics that may not come up in everyday conversation, but it's something that millions of Americans rely on, and the decisions being made about it today could directly impact your financial security down the line. Whether you're close to retirement or years away from it, Social Security is something that affects all of us, and there's a lot at stake, especially with everything that's been discussed during the recent debates. Now, something you might not have heard about the recent vice presidential debate is that Social Security was only mentioned briefly. That might seem surprising given how crucial it is to so many Americans, right? So then, what did the candidates actually say about Social Security? Let's get into it because the way they approached this issue could give us a glimpse into how future policies might be shaped. First, Senator JD Vance, who's running with Donald Trump, brought up Social Security in a personal way. He mentioned how his grandmother relied on it to put food on the table while raising him. It's a relatable story for many of us, and it shows how vital Social Security is for families, especially when things get tough. But when you look at Vance's broader stance, he's pretty clear about one thing. The program needs reforms. He's concerned about its long-term sustainability and believes that without some changes, the system could start falling apart within the next decade. And here's the thing, Vance isn't alone in thinking this. Many experts have been warning that Social Security is on a path to insolvency if nothing is done. The Social Security Administration itself has projected that by 2033, it might not be able to pay out full benefits to retirees. So what does Vance propose? Well, he's got a few ideas, including things like raising the retirement age or adjusting how benefits are calculated to account for people living longer. But here's the tricky part. He's trying to walk a fine line. He's against making drastic cuts to benefits, but he also doesn't want to raise taxes too much, especially on the middle class. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Vance has also floated the idea of boosting Social Security's funding by increasing tariffs or encouraging more people to join the workforce. His argument is that if more people are working, then more money is flowing into Social Security. It's an idea that sounds good in theory, but some experts have pointed out that it's not a complete solution. After all, there are other factors at play, like how many people are retiring and the overall growth of the economy. So, while his ideas could help, they might not be enough to solve the bigger problem. On the other side, you've got Tim Walz, the Democratic candidate running with Kamala Harris, and his approach is almost the opposite. Walz is all about protecting Social Security as it is, and even expanding it. He's pretty vocal about not cutting benefits or raising the retirement age. Instead, he's looking at ways to increase revenue for the program, and his plan mainly focuses on raising taxes on higher income earners. So, for example, right now, there's a cap on how much of someone's income is subject to Social Security taxes. Walz wants to raise that cap so that wealthy Americans contribute more to the system. And, this isn't a new idea. A lot of Democrats have been advocating for something similar because they see it as a way to make the system fairer. They argue that wealthier people should pay more into Social Security, especially since they're less likely to rely on it as their sole source of income during retirement. Walz also pointed out that, as governor of Minnesota, he eliminated state income taxes on Social Security benefits for most retirees, and he's interested in expanding that kind of policy nationwide. So, what's the key difference between Vance's and Walz's approaches? Well, it comes down to how they want to handle the program's funding. Vance is looking for ways to make the system more efficient without raising taxes too much, and he's focused on long-term solutions like increasing workforce participation. Walz, on the other hand, is willing to raise taxes on the wealthy to keep Social Security fully funded and even expand it so that more people can benefit from it. Now, it's easy to see why this is such a hot topic. People are living longer, and that's putting more strain on Social Security. Plus, we're at a point where more baby boomers are retiring, and there aren't enough younger workers to make up for the growing number of retirees. That's why you hear so many different ideas about how to fix the system. But there's no one-size-fits-all solution, and that's what makes these debates so important. And this isn't just about numbers or policy, it's about real people. Imagine being close to retirement and hearing that the benefits you've been counting on might be cut or reduced in the future. Or, if you're younger, think about paying into a system for decades, only to find out that it's not as secure as you once thought. These are the kinds of concerns that millions of Americans are facing right now, which is why this topic should be front and center in our discussions about the future. So, what can we take away from all this? Well, the candidates have very different ideas about how to handle Social Security, and their approaches reflect the broader philosophies of their parties. Vance is focused on reform and sustainability, while Walz is prioritizing expansion and protecting the program as it stands. At the end of the day, it's up to voters to decide which approach they believe will best protect their financial future. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you, what do you think about Social Security? Do you feel confident that it'll be there when you need it, or are you worried about what the future holds? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I think it's important to have this conversation because it affects all of us, whether we're thinking about retirement right now or not. Thanks for sticking with me through this discussion. I hope you found it helpful, and if you did, don't forget to share your thoughts and maybe even pass this along to someone who might find it useful. There's a lot to consider when it comes to Social Security, but the more informed we are, the better decisions we can make for our future. Stay tuned for more updates and insights, and until next time, take care.